In this video, I am going to solve a problem where we need to find the equilibrium index of an array. So the question for the problem is equilibrium index of an array is an index such that sum of elements at lower indexes is equal to the sum of elements at the higher indexes. Okay, so we need to find the equilibrium index. For that, we need to write a function equilibrium that's given a sequence array of size n, returns an equilibrium index, or -1 if no equilibrium indexes exist. So we are given an example here. So we have given an array which has both positive and negative numbers, and the output is 3, which means we have at index 3 is the equilibrium index, which means if we add up all the elements before this index and it should be equal to the sum of all the elements after the equilibrium index. Let's check it. -7 plus 1, which is -6. -6 plus 5 is -1. So -1. Here we have -4 plus 3, which becomes -1, plus 0 is -1. So it is equal to the sum before the equilibrium index. So let's take the example that is given to us. So to solve this problem, I am going to assume the first element at index 0 as sum 1, and I am gonna assume one index which should be 1, like index 1, and I'm gonna take another variable as sum 2. In this variable, I'm going to loop through the array and add all the elements from index 2, which means from index 2, 5 plus 2 minus 4, this becomes 7, minus 4, 3, plus 3, 6, plus 0. So the total becomes 6. Now what I am going to do is I will just increment the sum 1 and move the index to the right, and I will be subtracting those elements from the sum 2 until we reach the end of the array, so that if we do not find the equilibrium index, then we are just gonna return -1. So now we have -7 in sum 1 and 6 at sum 2. Both of them are not equal. So what I'm going to do is I will add the next element to the sum 1, which becomes, so sum 1 becomes -7 plus 1. Let's assume I as index. So when we add the next element to the sum 1, we need to move the index. So the index now becomes from 1, it will become 2. Then from sum 2, we need to subtract the element, right? So we subtract 5. The first element, we subtract 5 because now the 5 is at the index. So 6 minus 5 is 1. This is -6. So -6 is not equals to 1. So we are gonna add the next element. Sorry, this is -6 plus 5. The index becomes the increments, so it becomes 3, and we are going to subtract the next integer which is 2 from the sum 2. It becomes -1. Here this becomes -1. So now if we compare, both of them are -1. So the index that we have now, which is 3, is the equilibrium index. Now we need to write this in the programmatical way. We need to write a function equilibrium the parameter for the function is array. We need to check for the corner cases, whereas if array dot length is less than 3, which means if we have less than 3 elements, then we do not have any equilibrium indexes. So if it is less than 3, we are just gonna return -1. Now let's initialize the variables. Sum1, which is set to array of 0, and sum2 is set to array of 2, and index is assumed at 1. Now we gonna loop through the array and add up all the elements to the sum2. So the I starts at 3 because we are gonna add the elements after the index 2. So we are gonna add all these elements into the sum2. Sum2 plus array of I then we are going to check if sum1 is equals to sum2. If it is equal, then we are just going to return the index. If it is not equal, then we will increase the index and adding the elements to the sum1 until it becomes equal to sum2, or we'll just loop through the end of the array. If we do not find the equilibrium index, we need to return the -1. So here, if while index is less than array dot length -1, because we are checking if the index is less than array dot length -1. It's because we need to have the index one element before, right? We need to have something after the index equilibrium index, so that we can compare it with the previous sum. So that is the reason I am using array dot length -1. So sum1 plus array of index, then the index is incremented, and from the sum2 we need to remove the index, the element at the index. Then we'll check if sum1 is equals to sum2. If it is equal, then we just return the index. If it is not equal, then the loop starts again the index is incremented, then at sum 1 we just add the next element. From the sum 2 we decrease the we subtract the first element, then we'll check the condition again. So whenever we find the sum 1 is equal to sum 2, then we are gonna return the index. If it is not equal and the index is no more less than array dot length minus 1, then we are gonna return minus 1. So let's check our code with the example. So the example is minus 7 1 5 2 3 0. First it's gonna check if array dot length is less than 3. So the array dot length for our example is 7. So this is not less than 3. Then we are gonna just initialize the sum 1, sum 2 and index. So here the sum 1 is minus 7. Sum 2 is array of 2, which is 5. Index is 1. Then we start the for loop from the index 3, and we are gonna add up all the elements from index 3 to sum 2. So sum 2 becomes 5 plus 2, then I is incremented, plus the next element is minus 4, the I is incremented, and it becomes 5. So we are gonna add all the elements in the array from index 3 to the sum 2. So the overall sum becomes 6. After doing the for loop, we are checking if sum 1 is equal to sum 2. If both of them are equal, we are going to return the index. The sum 1 we have here is minus 7. Sum 2 is 6. Both of them are not equal. So we are entering the while loop. It checks if index is less than array dot length minus 1. So index is at 1. 1 is less than array dot length is 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. Yes, it is 1 is less than 6. So we are going to add to the sum 2. So sorry, sum 1. Sum 1 is minus 7 plus we are going to add array of index. Index is at 1. So at 1 we have integer 1. So we will add a minus 7 plus 1, which becomes minus 6. And the index is incremented, so the index becomes 2. From the sum 2 we decrement the array of index, which means at sum 2 we have 6. 6 minus array of index is 1. It becomes 5. Oh, sorry, this is not the right one. From sum 2 we are gonna decrement the index, but the index now is at 2. So at index 2 we have 5. So we are going to subtract 5 from 6, which becomes 1. Then we are going to check if sum 1 is equals to the sum 2. So the sum 1 is minus 6, sum 2 is 1. Both of them are not equal. So the while loop is again started. The index is at 2. 2 is still less than 6. So for the sum 1 we are going to add sum 1 is minus 6. We are going to add the index element at index 2, which is 5. It becomes minus 1. The index is incremented, so it becomes 3. and for the sum 2 we need to decrement the element at index 2. So it becomes sum 2 is 1 minus the element is 2. So the element is at index 3 is 2. So 1 minus 2 becomes minus 1. Then we will check if sum 1 is equals to sum 2. The sum 1 is minus 1 and sum 2 is also minus 1. Both of them are equal. So we're just gonna return the index, which is 3. So if we just loop through the element and the index is no more less than the array dot length minus 1, then we are going to return the minus 1. Thank you.